Now, once again, I just want to reiterate this again. This isn't even the worst thing that these guys are doing. This straight up lying, misinformation, disinformation isn't even the fucking worst thing that these guys are doing. Wait till you see why I'm calling them a Trojan horse.
I am Dr. Palmer. You don't understand.
Paranoid delusion. A couple of them actually think the doctor's tragic.
Go easy on them. They've been through a lot.
Hey, what's up, world? Hope you're all having a fantastic weekend. Well, I know not all of us are having a fantastic weekend. Some of us are living in Gaza and the West Bank and these other countries that Israel's just bombing to shit. You know, those people, they're not having such a good weekend. But I suppose those people don't even have the capacity or the means to watch my videos. So those of you who are watching my videos, I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Hope you're exercising, reading books, eating healthy, making sure that mind and body stay sharp so that you can pick up on these shills when they come across your way. And chances are, they're most likely going to come across your way, either maybe in person, on the TV, or on the internet. They're all over the fucking place, really. Now anyway, let's get right into this video. I'm actually really freaking excited about this video because I've wanted to do a video on this Corbett character for a very long time. I've been listening to him since about 2010, and I've noticed like a lot of things that he does, but he is fucking good. Like, he's really subtle, and it would take a lot to actually like show exactly what he's doing. You know, there's some plausible deniability on his part in there, where he can just say, oh, well, I'm not talking about those things, or that's just my way of doing things. So I sort of have put off making a video on this guy since like 2017. You know, when I started this channel, I started to make videos. I wanted to make a video about him, but I was like, damn, that's just way too much work. But now I have the perfect video. I've caught this guy in the perfect deception, in the perfect con. But anyway, let's get right into this Corbett character guy. Let me not talk about myself, right? So this Corbett guy, he's very much connected to the other characters that we've looked at. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's even more connected to even other characters that there's just no, like, public relationship with. But this Corbett character, this is him right here. He is very much connected to Larkin Rose, the guy that I did a video about, like, 2 videos ago. They're very much pals, like, they recommend each other's books to their audience. They've done videos together, like, they've collaborated on videos to cover, like, certain things. You know, they're buddy-buddy. And the reason that I'm mentioning this is because of the old saying, tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who you are. I prefer Jose Ortega y Gasset's version, which I believe is something like, tell me what you pay attention to, and I'll tell you who you are. But yes, a person's character can be determined by the company that they keep. Especially when the company that they keep is Larkin Rose saying all kinds of goofy shit, and then James Corbett over here not saying anything. No feedback, just playing as a yes man. Just sitting there, oh yeah, what you're saying is profoundly true. Not surprising. Oh yeah, and they both go to Anarcho-Copo or something like that like Anarchist meetup, you know, where they all put their 3 IQ points together, and it still seems to just stay at 3 IQ points. You know, the mathematicians, they're still trying to figure it out. They're like, how is this possible? How does the 3 plus the 3 plus the 3 plus the 3, or the 3 times whatever times 100, how does it still equal to just 3? And I've told those mathematicians, I'm like, oh, well, it's IQ. This isn't like a tangible thing that you can like put together and then it adds up. You know, if they're all low IQ, doesn't matter how many of them you put in a room together, they're going to stay fucking low IQ. It's going to be an echo chamber of just low IQ-ness and stupidity. Or maybe they're not low IQ. Maybe they're actually really fucking intelligent and just getting paid to say the dumb shit that they say. I believe it's the latter more so than the former, because there's no way you're an adult at this level in life and you can be this stupid. Like, you would have had to have died at some point. Like, Darwin would have got you. You would have earned yourself a Darwin Award already. But anyway, let's get into this video. I'm actually going to be commenting on a short and then a longer interview. Let me explain what happened here. So I had come across this short. This guy Corbett has come back on YouTube, so I just happened to come across his short on YouTube. Now, the short is titled, "These 103 Weather Stations don't exist. Now, after I watched this short, I rushed to comment, I commented, and then we'll probably look at some of those comments. And then somebody else who was critiquing my comments made me realize that I actually had the whole thing wrong. And this is why this is my second time recording this video, because I recorded a first video of this, which only covered the short. Then this guy made me realize that I missed a whole bunch of information, and I actually got everything wrong. And, well, not this guy here, but some other guy. He made me realize I got a whole bunch of things wrong, so I went and then I watched the interview that is associated with this short, and then that's when I really uncovered what was going on here. So the first video, I titled it, I was like, Lying Anarchist Shills. So I believe my first video, my video that I did 2 days ago on Brian over at High Impact Flicks, Here's the Deal, whatever channel his name is, The Disturbing Illusion. He's got many different channels. I believe that video was titled Deceiving Anarchist Shills, and I was going to follow that video up with the video that I first recorded, which was Lying Anarchist Shills. But then I realized, I'm like, wait a second, they're not lying. These guys are in a Trojan horse over here. So that's why, as you can probably tell, the title of this video is Trojan Anarchist Shills, because these guys are straight up Trojan horsing their way into people's lives, and people don't even realize it. They're like, yeah, this guy's totally on our side. Look at how much truth he shows. And it's like, no, he's not showing any truth. He's giving you fucking misinformation, disinformation, which is actually going to cause the government to crack down on misinformation and disinformation even harder, and it's actually going to lead to an even worse situation. Because these people are not actually trying to solve the problem with real, authentic information, with wisdom, with knowledge, with, as I said, authentic information. Instead, they're deceiving people. And they're deceiving people in such a clever way that people don't even realize that they're being deceived. These guys are wordsmiths. These guys are, as I said in my other video, sophists of the highest order. Okay, sophists from ancient Greece, those sophists that were experts at rhetoric, they would listen to these guys and they would just blush. They'd be like, God damn, you're fucking good, man. You can sell a boulder to a drowning man. I'm sure you could, right? So anyway, let's get right into this, because this is way too much exposition.
First thing started, I thought, well, I'm going to review every single weather station. Started looking at lists of weather stations. Wait a minute, where's that one?
All right, I want to pause it here for a second, because when I watched this, I noticed that when they're talking about weather stations, they had these images of actual weather stations in the background. And to me, this is very misleading. Maybe this is me being pedantic. This doesn't really have much to do with my central point for this video. This is just me being a little bit of a pedant. So when I saw this, I'm like, wait a second. These aren't the weather stations that they use for monitoring weather. So they're showing, they're talking about weather stations, oh, we couldn't find them. There's no weather station there. When really the weather station is actually just a temperature reading device. And I don't even think that they're called weather stations. There's actually another name for them that is just eluding me right now. But they're not actually called fucking weather stations. But for some reason, he refers to them as weather stations here. And then Corbett shows actual images of weather stations. And it's like, motherfucker, this is not what they look like, and I'll show you that in a second. Sorry for interrupting, but I have to sort of do this to also prevent copyright. Because although Corbett claims to be an anarchist, or I guess he's an anarcho-capitalist, or whatever the fuck he claims to be, really is just a shill. But anyway, I'm sorry. Digressing a little bit here, let's go back to the video. I had it on mute, my bad.
That one. Now, I know you reviewed this earlier. Dungeness, we call it. There's a soft G, by the way. It's quite an important place. There's a nuclear power station there. I've worked there. I thought there isn't a word.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. I wanted to comment on this. Let me mute it. I wanted to comment on the way this guy's dressed and the imaging that you have here. This black and white that's going on here. I've seen a lot of Masons do this. And this guy's just this guy needs to get out in the sun. I'm sorry, dude. Use is way too white. You might be anemic or something, but go get some fucking sunlight, dude. You look like a vampire. I don't know why people are listening to fucking Count Dracula over here, but thousands and thousands of people are listening to Count Masonic Dracula over here. with this black and white combination here. I mean, to me, it's just, I see this and it just makes me go, is he trying to show something there? Is he being a typical Mason/club member that just can't help themselves? They just have to show some of their hidden hand. But anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. I just wanted to point that out. Let me let Dracula finish speaking.
At the station there. So I went, drove my car, went there, had a look, couldn't find it. They said there was one in a place called Folkestone, not far from where I live.
Alrighty, let's pause right here, right? Let's look at this map here. Let me bring it back a little bit. So this is the map from the Met Office. This map, I've gone and I looked at it. If you see this 2 here, you click on this 2, and then it shows the 2 stations that are trying to, well, not trying to, but that are collecting weather data here. And by the way, it's pronounced data, not data. It's data. I hear people say data all the time. Like, Jesus Christ, just look it up and see how to pronounce it. It's data, not data. And that has to do with Corbett, because Corbett, even though he's an English teacher, this guy's apparently, he went to Japan, he taught English, but he doesn't know how to pronounce things. I mean, I guess I do that too, but to me, it's like data is just such a common word. But whatever, I'm just being pedantic again. I'm sorry. Let me get back to the video here. So Dungeness, right? Here they're showing, and they're saying this one isn't here, right? Oh, it's not there. They exit out. Now, in truth, the one that isn't here is an old station. There was an old station that's over here, and the Met Office still had it on its site or whatever. I guess when he first looked at it, it's not there now. But maybe it was still there. Maybe somebody was just slacking on their job, not doing the work that they're supposed to be doing. But this station that they're showing right now in this short, this one, Dungeness, is fucking there. And I only know this because a person replied to me. They sent me this comment. He's like, he can't read a map. The weather station is near Dungeness. It's called Romney Bay Weather Station. You can see it on the side of a house precisely where the WOW Met Office website says it is. 22 Pryor Road. The weather station is a Davis Vantage Pro 2 Plus. Now, what has happened, I don't know how this guy got all of this information. However, if you do go to the WOW Met Office website, not just the Met Office website, but the WOW Met Office website, it does give you a wider picture of where these stations are at. It gives you a much better idea. It gives you the name of the weather station. However, it seems like they've removed some of this information of exactly where it is, and they probably did this because when this guy came out with all of his misinformation, you probably had a whole bunch of people going to these locations and then maybe causing problems for those people at those locations. Because something these guys don't ever mention is that a lot of these weather monitoring station devices are actually privately owned. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm actually showing you the image of it. I'm sorry. So here's Dungeness, where they said there wasn't one. Here's 22 Pryor Road. You can see it's the exact same point right there. You got this little lip here, and it's actually not Dungeness. It's just like the guy said, it's near Dungeness. So here's Dungeness here. That's where 22 Pryor Road is. And if you look at the Met Office website map, that's exactly where it is, on that turn. You see, right in there. And that's exactly where you find it, at 22 Pryor Road. But in their video, they're like, no, it's not there. I couldn't find it. And look, you can actually even see it on Google Earth. You go to Google Earth, you go to the street view, you can actually zoom in on this fucking thing. But this guy's all like, oh, I can't find it. It's not, so it must not be there. And it's like, I mean, well, maybe you're looking for a fucking actual weather station, like a total Muppet. But that's not what these weather temperature monitoring devices actually look like. They're very small. And you probably won't even know what this thing is if you're just passing by. Now, this is also why, actually, I'll talk about that later, because they're going to be talking about the quality of these stations. I'll be talking about that when they bring it up. But this was my first comment. So because you couldn't find them, they don't exist? That's some pretty dumb logic. The thing is, a weather station is often just a relatively small temperature reading instrument that takes up a space that's about all of 2 cubic feet. In this case, it was probably even less than 2 cubic feet. The weather station could have been on the premise of the nuclear power station. Now, when I wrote this comment, I didn't realize that there was all of this other information out there showing that the one that was at the power station actually closed down decades ago. But we'll be talking about that. We're going to be talking about that, how it closed down, but how they still sort of make it appear active by using correlative data from other stations. And even Corbett and this guy says that that's fine, that makes sense, but they do that well after convincing their audience that these stations are totally made up. And that's the problem here, is that there's another thing going on here, but they sell it. They make it like they try to convince their audience that these stations have never existed and that it's just a complete fabrication, that their data is a complete fabrication. And we're going to see that, okay? We're going to see that that's exactly what they make their audience believe. Although they're telling their audience something that's completely fake, it's misinformation or disinformation, however you want to say it, there's actually another thing that they do that's far worse than the misinformation and disinformation that they share. Far worse. And you're going to see that, and that's where the Trojan horse comes into play. So you haven't seen anything yet. So anyway, let's get back to this short.
That's when I thought, how come I'm not finding these places? So I sent them
Because you're an idiot. Or a shill. Most likely a shill, though.
an email and said, where are they? And they basically said, well, why do you want to know? And I said, because I want to find them, sort of thing.
Well, you're an idiot because it was already public information. Like, why are you sending them an email when it's already on their website? All right, whatever. I'm sure that they actually responded like, oh, well, it's on our website. Why would they respond, oh, why do you want to know? And that's also another thing that he does. He deceives the audience into thinking that they're responding a certain way that they're actually not responding. And I'm going to prove that too, because he's actually shared screenshots of the emails that his email communications with the Met Office.
And then started hitting this wall all the time of asking them for something. And the inquiries, the normal option, won't answer you. So you have to go down this crazy line of doing freedom of information requests. I'd already sent one to find out what the Commission for Instrumentation of Meteorological Observations CMO guide was, which categorizes the
Bro, if you did a freedom of information request for the CMO guide, then you're a fucking moron. It's pretty simple. That is public information that you do not need a freedom of information request to get. Okay? Now, I suspect that the reason why he's saying this is because it's part of his sophistry. It's part of his rhetoric. This is making him seem like he's really doing the legwork, like he's really smart. He knows what to be looking for. He knows what the quality is and all this stuff. Really, he's a fucking muppet.
Quality standard of weather stations. So I got familiar with the process. I then asked them, well, you tell me all these stations. Which ones of these are actually open and actually exist? And eventually, they sent me back a list of 103 stations that simply weren't there.
No, okay, see, it's not that they simply weren't there. It's that they were there at one point in time, and then because most of them are privately owned, maybe the owner of that station died, maybe their instrument, went bad. These instruments don't last forever. They go bad, and maybe they're just like, I'm not going to really replace that. Whatever. That was actually way more work than I thought it was. I have people coming over here inspecting it and shit. Maybe that's a possibility. But he makes it like they just simply weren't there. Now, when I first watched this short, I didn't really understand what he was saying here because he's a very bad talker when it comes to the way that he's trying to deceive people. Okay, so he's all like, they simply weren't there. Now, when I first saw this, I thought he was saying that, like, those 103 were part of a list. I thought they actually sent him because he's going to say that there was, like, a list of 300 and something, and these 103 simply weren't there. I thought he was saying that, like, they weren't there because he couldn't find them. But it turns out the Met Office actually did return an email saying, oh, yeah, these 103 are no longer in commission. They're not recording raw data themselves. We actually keep them there, and we use correlative data for those stations, for that part. Okay, that's what actually is the case.
Which is quite remarkable, because there's only 302 on the list. More than a third of them didn't actually exist.
Okay, so once again, he's like, they didn't actually exist. It's like, no. There's just another method, another process going on there that they believe is legitimate and that you believe is illegitimate. That's fine. But we're actually going to see that they have no problem with this process. After after claiming that they don't exist and that it's all fake news and stuff, you're going to see in their interview, they're going to be like, oh, actually, one can understand this method perfectly fine. We're going to see that. But let's first look at another video. This is from Corbett's, as you can see here, the 8th Annual Fake News Awards. And I want you to see this because I want you to see how in every single time that they talk about this, they talk about it in the same way. They talk about it as if this data is a complete fabrication. And this, of course, will inflame the public. This will definitely rile up the public if they're all like, oh, wait, this data's wrong? And then what's going to happen is that the public will then be corrected, and then the public will feel stupid, and then they'll feel like, oh, well, maybe we do have to trust the government, and we really shouldn't be listening to these shills online because they're giving us false information. And this is actually going to drive people in the long run to the government. And of course, it's also going to cause the government to want to crack down on people talking on the internet, because they're like, God damn, these people are talking on the internet, and they're riling up the people, they're creating a public disturbance, or whatever, however they see it. We already see it unfolding in the United Kingdom with their digital ID. If you want to access certain information on the internet, certain content on the internet, you need a digital ID. And soon it will be, hey, if you want to upload a video, if you want to be a content creator, you need to dox yourself. You need a digital ID. That's going to happen because of fucking idiots like this. And they're not even idiots. Once again, they're shills. At least that's what I believe. So anyway, let's look at Corbett again. We're gonna watch this video, as I said, to show that every time they talk about it like it's a complete fabrication, which is fake news, which is misinformation, is disinformation, whatever the fuck you want to label it.
The UK Met Office for literally making up 103 fake temperature stations and reporting 30-year averages from those non-existent sites.
See? Oh yeah, just literally making up. They're literally making it up. 103. And actually, when you look at it, it's not even done like by a person. It's an automated process where computers are doing it. And it's like, I mean, it's way more complex than these guys are making it out to be. But you see, oh yeah, they're just making it up. It's just literally being made up. It's like, no. And you're going to see in the interview, they're going to be like, oh, well, this actually is fine. This is a fine method. This is fine methodology. Check this out.
That's right. As originally reported by Ray Sanders and followed up in a...
By the way, Ray Sanders is this pasty skin guy. It looks like he hasn't been outside since... Is this him? Is this supposed to be Ray Sanders? I think this was the last time he was out in the sunlight. They got the picture of him. This was his last time in the sunlight. It had to be. Because goddamn, you's a pasty motherfucker right now. But anyway, I'm sorry. I know. Childish insults.
Series of extensive reports by the Daily Skeptic, the UK's national...
Okay, so we're now going to look at the actual response. The response to the Met Office. And we're going to see he's going to refer to this as fake news. And then later on in the interview with this guy, he's going to be all like, "Oh yeah, this is actually this methodology makes sense. Check this out."
That claims the whole...
Let me increase the volume.
That claims the whole inventing stations idea is fake news because, quote, certain weather stations collect decades of data, but later need to close down. Rather than letting this data go to waste, scientists are able to combine this past data with more recent data from nearby, well-correlated stations, that is, those with similar trends, to look at long-term climate trends. This is a scientific method that is published in reputable, peer-reviewed papers and is used by other organizations around the world. It is not data fabrication, end quote. But as the Daily Skeptic...
I gotta raise the volume. And once again, it's data, it's not data, but whatever, I'm just being a pedant.
End quote. But as the Daily Skeptic notes in a detailed rebuttal that is well worth the read, the Met Office in fact goes out of its way to use adjusted, amended, modified, and likely corrupted data from...
So guys, he says a bunch of things there. It's adjusted, amended, and I think he says, and likely corrupted. No, it's... The data is adjusted because there are some of these stations that are like way the fuck off. Like way the fuck off. Yesterday I was looking at the WoW Met Office website. I guess I should have taken a screenshot. Maybe I did actually. No, I didn't. I should have taken a screenshot. But yesterday I was looking at the site And in the UK, it was like 19 to 20 degrees Celsius, at least in the southern part of the United Kingdom. The part that I was looking at, which is the part that they're sort of looking at in Dungeness and stuff. So showing the southern part, and it was like pretty much like between like 19, 20, I think 21 was like one of the highest. But there was one station, it was reading like fucking like 34 degrees Celsius. It was way the fuck off. Okay, so yes, a lot of the data that they get from this stuff needs to be adjusted because, of course, there is a percent error. And the reason why there's a percent error, I'm actually going to let him finish talking because I'm going to talk about the quality of the stations he's about to talk about.
Inferior sites over long-term reliable data.
I got to raise the volume.
Over long-term reliable data from top-quality Class 1 sites because A, almost all of their weather stations are listed as Class 4 or Class 5 sites.
Okay, so let me explain what he means here, because he likes to talk in a way where he assumes other people know what he's talking about, but really they don't. And most of the audience, they're not actually going to be researching what the fuck he's talking about. They're going to just assume that he knows what he's talking about by the way he's talking, because people are simple like that. So when he's talking about the quality of the site, a Class 4 and Class 5 site, that means that their temperature data can be off by 4 to 5 degrees Celsius. However, they're fully aware of this. They're aware that these sites have these errors. Now, the reason why they have these errors is because they're like next to car parks, they're in places that are not open fields. They're in places that are by things that maybe conduct heat or things that absorb heat and radiate that heat. And the reason why this is because they're actually not the Met Office's temperature reading devices. As I said before, most of these devices, like he said, over here, he's like, oh yeah, most of their devices are junk devices with bad quality. It's like, well, one, they're not their devices. They're private people's devices. And they're that bad quality because they're in a place where those people can access them, can get access to them. Like this one over here. If we look at this one, we'll see that this one is like right above where a car parks. So if this car just went on a long trip, let me try to zoom in here. I guess I'm not going to be able to zoom in there. But if this car were to go, actually, I believe I can. If this car were to go on a long trip, oh, I can't get into that corner. Okay, scheisse. So if this car were to go on a long trip, then come back and park underneath this thing, the heat is going to be radiating off of the car and affecting the temperature on this device. But where is this person going to put this device? They can't put it off of their property. They're not going to put it way out in a field somewhere where they can't access it and where the property is not theirs. So the reason why a lot of these sites, or a few of these sites, or only a few of these sites, are actually good quality sites is because those are the sites that maybe the government actually does go and put them out in a field. And I have talked about this. I've done a climate video where I talked about this fact. I talked about how, like, a lot of these temperature devices, the data from them is not super reliable, the quality is bad. But regardless, I'm not some fucking climate alarmist pushing scumbag. I'm just pointing out the fact that these guys are Trojan shills. Okay, I'm going to be talking about the truth at the end of the video, what these guys should really be talking about. So just hold on tight and try not to make any assumptions, okay? Because when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. Let's go back to where I was at.
That is, junk sites with unreliable data unfit for weather reporting by the World Meteorological Organization. And B, Class 5 junk data sites are more likely to report anomalous, hottest ever temperature readings. So what does all this mean?
Oh, wait. I gotta get this right here, right? So, like, what does all of this mean?
So what does all this mean? It means don't trust the UK Met Office to tell you the weather in 2125. That's what it means. It's fake news.
Okay, so once again, he's like, it's fake news. The Met Office, they're lying to you. It's all fake news, even though this guy is the one really lying to you. This guy's really the one deceiving you and not telling you the whole picture. Is the government lying to you? Of course they're also lying to you. Is the Met Office also lying and deceiving you? Of course they are. But this is not how you deal with that. You don't deal with deception and misinformation with more deception and misinformation, especially when you're dealing with an authoritative company like that has connections with the government and that will then give the government a reason to crack down on free speech. That's really what all of this is about, and people don't even fucking see it. It's like they're just totally incapable of seeing it. Like I said, that 2012 divide, man, there was a divide there. People just incapable. They just went down and then other people went up. And the people that went up can just probably fucking spot this shit, no problem. Their brain can actually wrap around this. I'm not even a smart person. Okay, I mean, sure, I had a high IQ or have a high IQ, but I'm not all that fucking smart. Okay, there's plenty of times where my brain does not fucking work and I'm like, God damn, my brain is not working. At least I have the wherewithal or the self-awareness to know when that's the case. Okay? So anyway, let's go now to the Daily Skeptic to further show that they're trying to make it like this is all fabricated. Okay, so this is the Daily Skeptic, some fucking shill website, and the article is titled Massive Cover-Up Launched by UK Met Office to Hide Its 103 Non-Existent Temperature Measuring Stations. That's actually what they're named. Temperature Measuring Stations, not weather stations. So anyway, let's read what it says here. Last month, the Daily Skeptic highlighted the practice at the UK Met Office of inventing temperature averages from over 100 non-existent measuring stations. See, once again, it's painting this picture that's not entirely true. It's painting this picture that has some connotative meaning associated with it, and it's very negative connotative meaning. Okay, it's not even like neutral, like, hey, maybe there's something going on there that I don't agree with, but, I guess certain scientists agree with it. No, it's not that. It's a complete fucking lie. Inventing temperature averages. They're not inventing the temperature averages. The temperature averages are being correlated and then determined by computer software, okay? I mean, of course, can we agree with that? No, some of us cannot agree with that. I don't really agree with that. I am not agreeing with the Met Office's practice of what they're doing, but they're not inventing temperatures. They're not fabricating data like these guys are making it out to be.
Exactly.
Let's see what we have here. I actually forgot. Actually, no. This is, I believe, when they're all like, "Oh yeah, one can understand this." So check out this change up. Right? Let's hear what I don't even want to give him a nickname because my nickname for him will just be too harsh. But let's see what Dracula over here and his pal have to say. Right? Let's see Masonic Dracula and his pal. What do they have to say?
Exactly. Okay, so let's drill down on that, because as you say, one could understand. You want an historical record of weather in this area, and this particular station closes, but you've got other well-correlated stations, so you can kind of keep there. One could understand that if someone was being above board. And
see, so now they're all like, oh yeah, one can understand this, and then they're going to be all like, and then now they're going to lie again. Now check this out. They're going to lie and mislead their audience again. And then I'm going to show you the proof that they're lying. So they're like, oh yeah, one can understand this, but...
And on the level with all of this and putting the calculations out there and have the little asterisk to note, well, this station is closed, but we're correlating from these stations. I don't think people who would have a problem with that. But as you say, all this secrecy of you can't know how we're doing this and the sausage is just coming out of the factory and you cannot see into the factory.
Okay, so the reason why they're saying that is because Count Dracula over here claimed that his freedom of information request, like under some like environmental regulation that they have over there in the UK, he claims that when he asked which stations are being used to create the average at another station, he's like, oh yeah, which stations are actually being used to create that average? He claims that they responded by telling him they can't tell him that information. And like as if they were trying to conceal that information. Okay? That's what Count Dracula says in this interview. He's like, oh, well yeah, they're concealing that information. They're telling me that they can't tell me, and that's why Corbett says, oh yeah, they can't tell you how they're putting the sausage in the sausage or something like that. Let's listen to what he says again.
I don't think people who would have a problem with that. But as you say, all this secrecy of you can't know how we're doing this and the sausage is just coming out of the factory and you cannot see into the factory.
Yeah, okay, that's not the case. Okay, so here we have, this appears to be this Count Dracula's blog. It's a Tall Blokes Talk Shop, silly name, whatever. And the blog title here is Refusal to Disclose Information Under the Environmental Information Regulation 2004. So here, even in the title, he's like, oh, they refuse to disclose this information. They're being secretive and deceiving and underhanded. But check this out. He has the emails, right? So we have this whole email. This is him like asking for the thing. It's like your correspondence considered to be a request. You asked, Freedom of Information request, Skoll Climate Station. Description. There's a location-specific long-term climate station location referred to on your website pages as Skoll, whatever. This is DCNN 3071. Could you please advise which weather stations were used in compiling the climate average data for the specific period from 1990 to 2020. So he's asking this, right? Now I'm just going to go to the highlighted portion. So they say in order to provide advice and assistance. So they're trying to provide assistance here. And then they say the process is automated and varies from month to month depending on the data available from nearby sites and their correlation scores with the station in question. Now, this sort of makes sense that it would change from month to month because maybe one month there's a station that the temperature coming from it doesn't seem anomalous at all. The temperature seems fine. Maybe if we look at 22 Prior Road again as our example, let's just use this as our example. Maybe we're at 22 Prior Road and there's 1 month where this guy went on vacation and thus the data from here is very accurate. But maybe there's another month or another couple of weeks where there's a bunch of anomalous data here because this guy was running a bunch of stuff. These cars were being used a lot and they're being parked back here a lot. And there's anomalies here. So this automated process is going to be like, hey, although we used 22 Prior Road last month, this month we're going to end up using this other temperature reading device because its data was a little less anomalous. Okay, that's what is happening here. And then they tell him, it's like, yeah, that information is not held because it's an automated system. That information is relatively automated. So what can they do? But he makes it like, oh yeah, they're being deceiving. They're deceiving us. They're withholding this information. They're refusing, as he has in the title, they're refusing to disclose information. Now, once again, I just want to reiterate this again. This isn't even the worst thing that these guys are doing. This straight up lying, misinformation, disinformation isn't even the fucking worst thing that these guys are doing. Wait till you see why I'm calling them a Trojan horse.
It obviously means something is going on. As you say, all of the other fidgeting and changes of the historical record that they're making, there must be a reason for this. Let's pull it out for people. Why would they be interested in changing this record?
Oh yeah, it's obvious. There must be a reason. It must be there. It's like, no, you guys are. Could the reason possibly be that you guys are fucking morons, or that you guys are shills? Is that a possibility? Sorry, let's go see what's coming up here. I don't know exactly what this is. Oh yeah, this is the airport one. Let's check this out.
That lists an air.
This is going back now to Corbett, making it as if these weather stations or these weather stations. Now this asshole has me calling them fucking weather stations. I mean these temperature measuring stations, not weather stations, temperature measuring stations. So this is going back to that. He's claiming that this one at this airport has supposedly been there since 1873. And it's like, Jesus Christ, is it possible that there was a fucking weather or temperature measuring station there before the airport was? And maybe it's not there now. Maybe there's another close by correlation one that's very much correlated to it. Whatever. Let's play this.
Airport weather station that goes back to 1873, 30 years before airplanes were invented, and that keeps a record in which 80% of their listed weather stations are sited in locations that had internationally recognized uncertainties between 2 and 5 degrees Celsius, making the purported tenths of a degree of global warming in recent decades statistically meaningless.
Well, no, because once again, this data is adjusted. Like, they try to go through this data to try to make it as close to what the temperature actually was. Now, of course, that's what they claim. Can we trust them? I don't fucking trust them, but that's at least what they claim. The fact is, it's not as clear-cut as James is trying to make it here. Now, I'm going to show why these guys are real fucking Trojan shills. Okay, because at the end of the interview, they're talking, and Count Dracula over here, he talks about what he's doing, right? He's like, oh yeah, what I'm doing is, I'm checking their record. And he's all like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get temperature from all of these different places and stuff, and I want to see if their record is correct. And then this is what he says.
Perhaps, I don't want to make this political, but perhaps if people can be shown that the data is being corrupted, then that will make them doubt those political people who have supported that view.
Okay, so he also goes on to say, I believe, I should have recorded it. I know, don't take my word for it. If you want to watch the fucking whole interview, go for it. Or you can take my word for it. He says in this interview, like, oh yeah, and if their data is fine, then it's fine. The problem with that, though, is if this guy goes about doing this, and then he shows that, oh, actually their data isn't all that off, then it justifies their climate policies. It makes it like, oh, okay, so the temperature is rising, so okay, it's fine. Everything that they're doing with their climate policies is perfectly fine. Because he's not actually addressing the main issue. Now, here's the main issue. I have this sign. I plan on going out and doing some activism with this sign and other signs, and this is real protesting right here. Protesting isn't going out on the street and fucking bothering people, causing issues and stuff. Protesting is really just going out and informing people, engaging people in civilized conversations, just like Socrates did. Socrates didn't go out there and fucking block traffic or throw stuff at people or scream at people. No, he went out there and he engaged people to try to inform them. Not even to inform them, but to make them wiser. So here's the sign that I have. I'm sure you already read it while I was chatting away. But for 85% of Earth's history, Earth has been in a greenhouse state. That means 0 land glaciers. For the other 15% of Earth's history, Earth has been in an icehouse state that fluctuates between glacial and interglacial conditions. Interglacial conditions are much shorter than glacial ones. So for only about 5% of Earth's history, Earth's climate has been interglacial. Right now, we are living in an interglacial climate, but the governments of the world want us to think our current climate is the Earth's norm, and that all life will end if it gets warmer. Why? Okay, this is the truth. Go ahead and fucking look it up. Type it into a search engine. For what percent of Earth's history has Earth been in a greenhouse state? And you'll find it's over 80%. It's actually 85, probably even higher than 85%. Okay, this is information that will really fucking wake people up. Not, oh, they're lying over here, they're deceiving with the temperature data. Oh, actually, it turns out they're not deceiving the temperature data. I checked it, so it's all good. Everything's above board, everything's copacetic. Let's go ahead and rein in the climate policies. Okay, it's a fucking Trojan horse. This guy's not actually dealing with the problem at hand. All he's doing is causing more problem for those people who are trying to talk on the internet freely without the government cracking down on us. He is the necessary friction. He's the controlled opposition that the government needs in order to drive these other policies. They need all these fucking well-spoken shills on the internet who are really good at deceiving the masses, because then they rile up the masses. I have a video on High Impact Flicks where I call him a fear merchant. I say, oh yeah, he's a fear merchant, and it's not even a fear merchant, he's like an outrage merchant, where they say these outrageous things that are fucking almost entirely fake, there's a little grain of truth there that they use to hook people in, they're almost entirely fake, and they're designed to get people outraged to create a reaction that the government already has a solution for. It is the Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution, and these guys are a necessary component of that dialectic, of that equation. They're fucking shills, every single fucking one of them. I will stand by that, although I will say I could be wrong. Who knows, they could just be complete fucking morons with their heads lodged deep inside their assholes. Pardon my language, I know people are a little sensitive to that. But this is just how people talk normally. Okay, people like to put on a front, they like to put on a show. They're just words, all right? They're words that have certain feelings attached to them. If those feelings get you all riled up and your panties in a bunch, you got to check yourself into a psych ward. Go to a psych hospital and say, I have a problem. There are certain words that make me feel uncomfortable. They disturb my frequency. Because I've heard some jackasses talk like this. Oh, those words, they disturb the frequency. Go to the fucking psych ward, okay? That's where you really belong. Go get some help. But anyway, that's the end of this video. There's a bunch more. I could have talked about the comments where I kind of made myself look like a fucking asshole by claiming that the 103 stations were actually there. It's not that they didn't exist. I was wrong on that, okay? But anyway, let me end the video here. As always, you all stay positive, you all stay healthy, and you all stay sharp.
I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not have strange gods before me. Out of my way, asshole.